The Nightshade Society's real origin. First, let's talk about the Nightshades, the cool kids of Nevermore, who somehow managed to be a secret society while hanging out in a library with a giant stained glass window. Subtle, right? But here's the thing, their name isn't just random edgy branding. The nightshade plant, also known as belladonna, has a notorious history. Witches used it in rituals, poisoners used it in assassinations, and healers used it in small doses to treat pain. That mix of danger and medicine makes the Nightshade name perfect. They're a faction walking the line between protectors and rule breakers. Digging deeper, the show hints the Nightshades are older than Nevermore itself. In fact, their secret hand signal and hidden library passages suggest ties to the early founders of Outcast Society, the ones who resisted purges by normies centuries ago. Think of them less like a rebellious frat house and more like a centuries-old resistance movement with eyeliner. The question is, what are they guarding? In the Addams universe, secrecy usually means knowledge about curses, monsters, or both. Some fans speculate the Nightshades were originally tasked with protecting Goody Addams' legacy. Others think they're hiding something even darker. Maybe the truth about why Nevermore Academy exists in the first place. And let's not ignore their irony. The Nightshades are supposed to be dangerous rebels, but their current members spend half their time gossiping and failing to keep secrets from Wednesday. So yeah, not exactly the Illuminati. Still, their roots in real-world witchcraft and poison lore make them one of the most intriguing factions in Nevermore, and one that could become much more important if Season 2 digs into the Academy's darker foundations. Wednesday's psychic powers and the Addams curse. Now let's talk about Wednesday's powers, her cryptic visions that show up at the most inconvenient times. These aren't just plot conveniences, they're rooted in something bigger, the Addams curse. Every Gothic story worth its black lace has one thing in common, a doomed bloodline, and the Addams family fits that perfectly. Notice how Wednesday's visions aren't warm or hopeful. They're violent, fragmented, and laced with blood. Morticia explains that visions run in the family. Hers are dove visions, gentle and life-affirming, while Wednesday's are raven visions, chaotic and destructive. That split is more than aesthetic, it represents the duality of the Addams curse. This family can't escape death, and each generation carries it differently. If you zoom out, the curse feels like a commentary on inherited trauma. Wednesday isn't just struggling with quirky teen angst, she's literally carrying the weight of centuries of Addams family darkness. Her visions are triggered by strong emotions or danger, which implies they're less of a gift and more of a burden. It's like a supernatural panic attack with extra eyeliner. But here's where it gets juicy. Goody Addams appears in these visions as a guide. That suggests the curse isn't just about seeing the future, it's a binding ritual where ancestors remain tethered to the living. So when Wednesday sees, she isn't just peeking into fate, she's tapping into a bloodline-wide prophecy system. Creepy? Absolutely. Useful for monster hunting? Also yes. The Hyde monster's deeper symbolism. The Hyde. The creature that made everyone in Season 1 say, wait, seriously? That's the twist? But here's the thing. The Hyde isn't just a jump scare monster, it's based directly on Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And once you realize that, the entire arc changes meaning. In Stevenson's novel, Hyde represents the monstrous impulses hidden inside every respectable person. He's the violence and chaos we suppress to survive in polite society. In Wednesday, the Hyde works the same way. It's not just about claws and creepy growls, it's about the darkness we bury. The host, like Tyler, looks normal, but Hyde is their repressed rage and pain clawing its way out. That symbolism connects directly to Nevermore itself. Outcasts are supposed to embrace who they are, but Hyde is the reminder that some parts of ourselves can't be tamed. Even Nevermore's headmistress warns that Hydes are uncontrollable, which sounds less like a school policy and more like an ancient fear. But here's the fun part. The Hyde is a mirror to Wednesday herself. She spends the season struggling with her own inner darkness, her delight in the macabre, her coldness, her obsession with death. The Hyde externalizes that question. Are you the monster or do you just hunt them? Fans also point out that the Hyde could be a setup for Season 2's deeper lore. If one Hyde exists at Nevermore, could there be more? Is the Hyde condition contagious or even engineered? The Addams curse and the Hyde condition might be linked. Both suggest that Outcast powers come with monstrous costs. The hidden Addams family connection. Finally, let's tackle the Addams family's biggest skeleton in the closet, Goody Addams. On paper, she's Wednesday's ancestor who fought Joseph Crackstone, but scratch the surface and she's something much creepier. First off, Goody doesn't act like a normal ghost. She doesn't just haunt, she guides, heals, and actively interferes with the present. That smells less like spectral cameo and more like ritual magic. Many fans believe the Addams bloodline has a hidden pact. Ancestors aren't allowed to move on. Instead, they're bound to the family as eternal protectors. Romantic? Sure. Disturbing? Absolutely. This explains why Wednesday sees Goody in visions. It isn't just psychic residue, it's an inherited contract. In Gothic tradition, bloodlines cursed by prophecy often have ancestors who meddle in the lives of their descendants. Goody Addams may literally be the magical firewall keeping Wednesday alive. But here's where the conspiracy kicks in. If Goody is bound to Wednesday, how many other Addams ancestors are hanging around? Could Gomez's ancestors be whispering in his ear? Is Pugsley doomed to get haunted by some great uncle with a guillotine collection? The possibilities are endless and hilarious. Now tie this back to Nevermore. Why does the Academy have Goody's portrait hanging around like a family-friendly Easter egg? Maybe because the Addams family isn't just another outcast bloodline. Maybe they're the Keystone family holding back something darker. If Nevermore is a cage, as many fans theorize, the Addams are the ones holding the keys. The Sirens' secret agenda. Now let's move on to everyone's favorite aquatic influencers, the Sirens. On the surface, they're just the mean girls of Nevermore with better eyeliner and the ability to ruin your Spotify algorithm. But Sirens aren't just a fun add-on power. They're one of the most dangerous mythological archetypes in the school. In Greek mythology, Sirens lured sailors to their deaths with song. At Nevermore, they weaponize persuasion, bending minds and emotions. Think about how dangerous that really is. Forget hexes and claws, Sirens can rewrite your decisions without you realizing it. That's less cool party trick and more mildly terrifying cult leader starter pack. Bianca Barclay's storyline gives us a peek behind the curtain. Her mother runs a self-help group that's basically a siren-powered pyramid scheme. Translation: the Sirens may have a long tradition of manipulating not just individuals, but whole communities. Imagine generations of hidden influence, subtly steering politics, culture, or even Nevermore itself. And here's the kicker. Sirens aren't just about control, they're about temptation. Their powers raise a bigger question. If someone changes your mind, are you still you? That's heavy for a teen drama, but it's also classic Gothic horror. Identity eroded by forces beyond your control. Plus, there's the comedic side. Imagine trying to argue with a siren roommate. Who left the dishes in the sink? Cue glowing eyes and hypnotic singing, you did. Suddenly, you're apologizing for crimes you didn't commit. Living with them must be a nightmare. The Sirens' presence at Nevermore feels like Chekhov's gun. The writers wouldn't introduce such a manipulative faction without bigger plans. My theory? In Season 2, the Sirens' ability to control minds could become a central conflict. If Nevermore really is a cage, maybe the Sirens are the wardens. Not with chains, but with persuasion. The Werewolves' hidden struggles. Enid Sinclair made Werewolves look like the most colorful, bubblegum part of the show, but don't let her rainbow claws fool you. Werewolves in Wednesday's world are struggling with something far darker than fashion choices. Here's the first big clue. Some werewolves never wolf out. They're called late bloomers, or worse, never bloomers. That sounds like puberty with extra trauma. Imagine being in a school full of outcasts and finding out you're too normal, even for the misfits. The werewolf community clearly has a cultural pressure problem. Enid's storyline isn't just quirky comic relief, it's Gothic metaphor. Her delayed wolfing out is a stand-in for any marginalized kid who feels like they don't fit in, even among their own. That's why her friendship with Wednesday resonates. She represents the bright, messy side of outcast identity. But peel back the humor, and you'll notice something darker. Werewolves have been hunted, feared, and mythologized for centuries. Their existence at Nevermore suggests an uneasy truce. The big question: who enforces it? Are werewolves bound by rules, contracts, or worse, something supernatural that keeps them in line? And let's not ignore the obvious symbolism. The wolf has always represented our primal instincts. Werewolves at Nevermore embody the struggle between civility and savagery. Enid's eventual transformation isn't just a glow-up moment, it's her accepting the beast inside, claws and all. Plus, imagine the chaos of werewolf dorm rooms. Sorry, can't hang out tonight. It's a full moon, and my roommate already shredded the beanbags again. Comedy gold. So while Enid makes werewolves look fun and quirky, the lore suggests a deeper struggle. A community torn between acceptance, repression, and the constant threat of violence from the world outside Nevermore. They're not just furry sidekicks, they're Gothic tragedy wrapped in bubblegum nail polish. The Gorgons' stone-cold reality. Ajax Petropolis may be awkwardly charming, but let's be real. Being a Gorgon at Nevermore is both hilarious and horrifying. These kids literally have to wear beanies indoors to keep from accidentally petrifying their classmates. Talk about a bad hair day. In mythology, Medusa was cursed by Athena and became a symbol of both beauty and monstrosity. At Nevermore, Gorgons inherit that same curse, except now it's treated like a manageable condition. Imagine living with powers so deadly that one slip-up could freeze your crush forever. Awkward first dates guaranteed. But here's the deeper layer. Gorgons symbolize shame. Their petrification isn't just physical, it's metaphorical. The freezing effect mirrors social paralysis. Ajax's insecurity about his abilities shows how Gorgons Gorgons are stuck between pride and fear. Do you embrace your power or hide it to be safe? This creates fascinating social dynamics at Nevermore. Gorgons are both respected and feared, which means they probably operate as a faction in their own right. Think of them as the stone-faced mafia of Nevermore. They don't need to fight, they just take their hats off. Humor aside, the Gorgons lore is ripe for expansion. If the show follows mythology, Gorgons might not just petrify, they could also symbolize guardianship. In ancient temples, Gorgon faces were carved to ward off evil. Could Ajax and his crew be destined not just to terrify, but to protect? The vampire's shadowy influence. The show doesn't spotlight vampires much, but make no mistake, they're lurking in Nevermore's background, like kids who peeked at Hot Topic, and that absence makes them even scarier. Vampires in Gothic tradition aren't just bloodsuckers, they're symbols of corruption, seduction, and immortality. At Nevermore, they probably operate as a shadow faction, trading in secrets instead of blood. Their silence on screen suggests they're either being saved for season 2 or they're quietly pulling strings from the shadows. Here's a theory. Vampires at Nevermore might control the Academy's politics. Think about it. They're immortal, they've seen centuries of outcast oppression, and they know how to survive. Why wouldn't they maneuver themselves into positions of subtle power? Headmasters come and go, but vampires? They've been in the background since day one. On a more practical level, imagine being their roommate. Hey, can I borrow your toothpaste? Nah, but I've got O negative in the fridge. Yeah, hard pass. Vampires also connect to Wednesday's themes of fate and inheritance. They don't just live long lives, they carry centuries of baggage. If Nevermore is a cage, the vampires are the ones who learn to decorate their cells with velvet capes and candlelight. So while the show barely touched on them, don't underestimate this faction. In season 2, don't be surprised if the vampires emerge from the shadows with centuries worth of grudges and a taste for chaos. The Psychics divided houses. Psychics in Nevermore aren't one size fits all. Morticia explains there are two types, doves and ravens. But that's just the tip of the tarot card. Imagine a whole faction divided by the tone of their visions. Hopeful dreamers versus doom prophets. It's basically Hogwarts houses, but with more migraines. Dove psychics, like Morticia, represent optimism. They see visions of love, healing, and possibility. Raven psychics, like Wednesday, channel death and destruction. That split creates tension not just in families, but across the psychic community. Do they see themselves as allies, or are they rivals locked in an eternal prophecy off? And let's not forget the burden. Imagine getting visions every time you touch something dramatic. Shaking hands at a wedding, vision of a funeral, picking up your phone, vision of a breakup. Honestly, psychics at Nevermore deserve hazard pay. This faction is fascinating because it ties directly to Wednesday's arc. The psychic houses represent two possible paths, embracing hope or succumbing to darkness. And of course, Wednesday's firmly in Team Doom for now. But what if season 2 forces her to reconcile both sides? Nevermore Academy itself. Finally, let's talk about the biggest faction of all, Nevermore Academy. Because honestly, isn't the school itself its own character? This place has more secrets than Dumbledore's diary, and more hidden tunnels than your average Scooby-Doo episode. The theory goes like this. Nevermore wasn't built to protect outcasts. It was built to contain them. All the factions, werewolves, sirens, gorgons, vampires, psychics, are under one roof, neatly categorized and watched by the administration. Sounds less like a safe haven and more like a supernatural petting zoo. Think about Headmistress Weems. She preaches unity, but hides her own agendas. Think about the countless secret passages and locked rooms. Even the Raven statue hides clues. It's like the entire school is screaming, "We're hiding something," but everyone's too busy attending Poe-Cup races to notice. If this theory holds, Nevermore might be less Hogwarts and more Arkham Asylum, a containment facility disguised as a school. And if Wednesday is the Raven destined to break cycles of doom, maybe her ultimate role isn't to solve mysteries inside Nevermore, but to tear the whole system down. Of course, that also makes cafeteria duty way scarier. Imagine trying to mop the floor while dodging vampire drool and werewolf hairballs. Respect to the janitors, the real unsung heroes of Nevermore. So is Nevermore a sanctuary or a cage? That's the ultimate faction mystery, and one we'll probably only get answers to in season 2. There you have it, every Nevermore faction explained. From the stone-cold Gorgons to the manipulative Sirens to Wednesday's cursed psychic visions. Each one is more than just a quirky power. They're metaphors for identity, trauma, and the messy chaos of being an outcast. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think Nevermore is protecting outcasts or trapping them? And which? Drop your theories in the comments section.